Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us in this webinar, onboarding webinar. So it's really, really important for all of us to be here in this important milestone. So first of all, congratulations for getting your acceptance to MIT Supply Chain Management Blended Master Program. And also from our side, we are very happy to have you here. We are really excited about the new course and the new different, future that we are going to get during these next weeks, months, this coming year, right? So let me introduce myself. My name is Maria Jesus Sáenz. I am the executive director of this blended program. And I am glad to be here with you. So Robert, maybe you can introduce yourself.
Yes, and you all know me. My name is Robert Cummings. I am the academic administrator for the blended program. I will be facilitating the webinar and be along with your journey here through MIT throughout your whole next 9 months. And then throughout the webinar, feel free to send us questions. I'll be looking to the side over here, looking at your questions as they pop up. So why don't we dive right in?
Yeah, let's go in. So we have prepared this PowerPoint. Of course, we are gonna talk about all the different details, but you will be able to download both video and the PowerPoint in order to come back to the different milestones, to the different details that we are gonna explain today. So then, this is actually the agenda for today. We are planning to be 1 hour, 1 hour, 50 minutes, Robert, more or less, depending on the questions that you will pose to us and the interaction we will have. So first of all, we will see the introduction, some facts about MIT and our blended program. We will also explain how you should prepare for coming to MIT, a lot of details, right? Why? Because we want you to take advantage as much as you can from your experience here on campus. So we will talk about different timelines and deadlines. We will talk about your preliminary work for career advice, recruiting, and job search, support that you will get from us. Also, what are the different arrangements you need to do in terms of your status as international student and immigration, your visa. Also, we will talk about housing, how to start the first steps about getting a house here on campus or outside our campus, health insurance, medical form, tuition and finances. Then we will go deep into the academic preparation and different requirements in terms of what is curriculum, courses, what is the schedule, what is the academic load and different degree options. What is, especially for the research project, we are gonna work from now on, right? So we are gonna start now. So it's important that we will highlight the different requirements for this research project and the expectations from your side. And we will end up with some upcoming action items, okay? So let's start first with the team. So this is the team that we are here just for providing support to you before coming here and during your stay on campus. So as we introduce ourselves, Maria and Robert, we will be closely in contact with you. Also, Josue, that was the former executive director of the blended program and now is leading the supply chain management program. Aren is a program manager and is managing mainly the scale and different schedules. You will also get in contact with Tuba. Tuba is going to help us with all the different research projects, capstone, thesis, along the course. Then here we have a very talented team of different profiles who will help us along this journey, right? We have some postdocs like Nima, like Marina, like Kansu here, and also Len. Len Morrison is going to be also important for you because he will provide a lot of support along the different career services before coming here and after that. Bonnie is helping with all the marketing actions, and also you will also get in contact with Justin. Actually, I mean, Robert and Justin are going to be your best friends while you will be here, right? Yeah. So then they will help you along this journey in all these different details.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have an overview about first about MIT. We are very proud about where we are, and we are very proud about the degree you are going to obtain. Why? Because we have different facts that have demonstrated the excellence of the institution. But not only the excellence, it's also the expectation. So you are going to study here. It means that you are going to the expectations from your side is also behave at this kind of excellence level. So hard work, but also a lot of rewards. The culture here is a culture of innovation, is a culture of performance, is a culture of science and technology. So here we have different facts. For example, selected honors. MIT has been recognized as the world's #1 university by QS rank by 7 or 8 years in a row. So then we are the best, but we also need to demonstrate that we are the best, right? So be prepared for working hard. Different Nobel laureates and medals during all the MIT history. I like especially these facts here in your right about the MIT global impact from the alumni point of view. Actually, if we measure what is the impact of the MIT global alumni, we can say that the alumni has launched more than 30,000 active companies, employing 4.6 million people, also generating this amount of money in annual revenue, but especially we can say that the alumni network is the 10th largest GDP in the world. It's not amazing, right? It's really, really, really a great success along all these years. Also, we are not passive. We are very active. Actually, there is a new initiative that you are going to experience when you will be here. Actually, MIT is launching the Stefan Schurman College of Computing and Artificial Intelligence, right? As a mission, MIT is devoted to science and technology, and nowadays we are putting a lot of efforts on everything around artificial intelligence, right? So then you will see all these different initiatives.
Yeah.
Um, where we are in the Center for Transportation and Logistics. So this is a kind of department within MIT. So we have like 3 different complementary actions in terms of education, where you are going to be in the blue bubble, right? So then we have the supply chain management program, residential and blended, of course the MicroMaster that you know very well, but also we interact with executives, different companies, also PhD in logistics. We have the research leg in our center. So we are very active working with companies from many different angles, actually from more academic point of view, conceptual point of view, but also from applied research point of view. We are working with great companies in order to help them to be more competitive in the landscape. And in terms of outreach, we have different kind of partnership models. Just for you to know, right? We have more than 50 member companies, and also we have different workshops, roundtables, different symposiums where we are working on different research agendas with those companies. In terms of research, this is a list of different research, especially for some of you that will be more interested in research. Pay attention to this, and also you will be able to find different initiatives in each of these research groups in our website, from Freight Lab, digital supply chain transformation, humanitarian, sustainability, last mile delivery, resilience. So different kind of initiatives, very, very interesting. As you probably know, I mean, MIT has a global network of different centers that are affiliated to MIT. We are all over the world, so we usually say that we emulate a supply chain that provides talent all over the world, right? The headquarters are here in Boston, but also we have different centers in Latin America, in Spain with Zaragoza Logistics Center, in Luxembourg, in Ningbo in China, and also in Malaysia. Also, we are exploring to open new centers that will contribute to this scale network. So yeah, let's talk about the class. Robert, do you want to explain more details about our class?
Yep, so we've all had a journey getting here. I know many of you have been working on your MicroMasters for several months now, and now we've boiled it down to our class of 41 enrolling SCM blended students, of which I see almost 30 of you have joined the webinar, which is really great to see everybody out here joining us. In terms of some of the background of the class, we have a very diverse class, actually our most yet, coming from over 20 different countries. You could see here our competitive, you were a very competitive group with your supply chain SCX courses, achieving over a 90% average, which is really fantastic. Work experience is almost 8 years of supply chain work experience throughout the class. So you have a strong background in supply chain. And then many of you come with us with your degree in hand, already achieving a master's in either an MBA or business and looking to refine your education with our supply chain degree here at MIT. And one thing that we like to demonstrate is just the diverse educational background that everybody comes from. As you can see here, almost half of our class incoming are engineers, ranging from chemical engineering, electrical, industrial, mechanical is a large group. So really, it really focuses on the core of our program, that we both combine the management aspects, but also weigh heavily on the science and engineering backgrounds of our students. We also have business and accounting, and then several other areas of interest. People have mathematics backgrounds, physics, economics, that really make up the whole class. So yeah, I think we're really excited to have all 40 of you join here. And one thing to also point out, you'll join your 44 colleagues, the residential students, who will be arriving here on campus in the next month. So together we'll have a very large class of over 80 students in January and then throughout the spring term. So I think we're looking forward to it. Yep. Yep. And then in terms of your country background, this is, as I mentioned, the most diverse background that we've had, with 20 different countries represented, coming from all over the world, which is really great. I think it'll bring a lot of interesting backgrounds and points of view to the class, which will always contribute to your education here, because that's one of our main goals and initiatives, is to really bring a diverse group of candidates in through the program. Then in terms of your prior employment experience, you can see that our group comes with a lot of dedicated experience in top companies around the world, who will bring those important points of contact here as a point of contact for your research project, which we'll get into further down the line. So many of you will have proposals that you brought through that we will continue to work with and develop, and hopefully come to be a fully fledged project here, supported by our advisors in CTL, and you'll work on with either a partner, and we'll get into some of those details just a little later on in the webinar. But as you can see here, a lot of great experience, and you'll go on to do to many other companies that will show you some of the placement of our alumni so far. So now, as you prepare to move to MIT, I wanted to summarize some of the key things that a lot of students will start thinking of now as you prepare to move to Boston. This may be your first time in Boston, or it may be even your first time moving outside of the US. So one thing we always like to start off with is to be prepared for Boston's cold winter. Because our program starts in January, it will be an adjustment for many. Every year is a little different. You could see here 2 years ago, we actually had a snow day and a big snowstorm on our very first day of orientation, which postponed us just a little bit. But throughout January and February, it will be relatively cold. So we always like to make sure people are prepared. But with that in mind, we still want you to have a great time and enjoy all the city has to offer. Even through the winter and into the spring, things really start waking up, and you'll be able to explore lots that Boston has to offer. Museums, dining, and everything is so close-knit. I think what's one of the best selling points of Boston is that you can walk anywhere in the city. We have transportation, which you'll have discounts to. and really just get to know the experience here with so many college students coming from all over the world to experience living in Boston. It's a really great learning environment and fun environment. So now just some timeline, just a timeline of administrative details for you to keep in mind. Some of these still are to be determined because we are a little early in the process, and our housing system has been updated recently. So one of the most important things now is to make sure to create your MIT email account. I'll follow up with everybody to make sure that we have your email on file, because that will be the main point of contact moving forward. For international students, I know you'll be eager to apply for your I-20 and your immigration documents. So we will schedule a webinar in September so you can meet with Maria Brennan, who is our international student office point of contact. She will be a major resource for you throughout that process. I know there's been challenges recently, as you've probably seen in the media. So we are aware that it will be we try to help our students as much as possible, so we'll get you started with the immigration process. Then moving into the late fall, we will have housing deadlines, which will become available soon. I'll have a slide on housing just in a minute. Tuition bills will be sent out in early December, and your first payments will be due in early January. And then that brings us right into the start of our program on January 6th for our week-long orientation. Then moving into the Scale Connect conference, where we have an intensive 3-week period. And then one component to always keep in mind is medical insurance, which I have another slide on once we get to that. Also, as you start thinking about your journey here to MIT, we want to highlight some of our recruiting and job support services for you to start thinking of now so that you can take advantage both prior to your arrival on campus, but also once you get here and meet with Len, our career officer. So prior to your arrival, we will be connecting over the summer to collect your resumes and do an in-depth review with Len and include your resume in our resume book as we reach out to companies if that's a point of interest for you. In our upcoming survey at the end of this week, we'll assess what you're looking for in terms of career support. One other component of our pre-arrival process is the Clifton Strengths Assessment, which is something that we really find very useful for ourselves. All of our staff here have taken it. And it's really to see what areas you excel best at so you can really improve on those and leverage your abilities to get a great job here, a great job after completing the program. With your MIT account, you'll have full access to a lot of MIT services, including MIT's alumni database. So that is the prior to arrival. Once you get here, we will really hit the ground running with individual career coaching with Len. You'll be attending all information sessions that we have here with companies that come through in January all the way through spring. Access to MIT's Career and Advising and Professional Development Office, and then access to all of our job postings that we have through our own website and through MIT. So really, it will be a great network for you to dive into.
Yeah, one quick comment here. As you already know, because we already commented in some of our webinars, considering the features of our program, those that are not originally from the US, you are not eligible for the OPT, right? That this will be allow you to extend your stay in the US for doing some job. Just to be aware of that, this is a limitation. We already mentioned from the very beginning, right? And of course, if you want to maybe extend that option, maybe you will be able to complement your our program with another activity here in the fall term, maybe in another university, in order to extend your stay in the academic program, another academic program, longer than you will be with us.
Yes. Yeah. And let's see. Let's move on. Again, on that international student aspect, as we mentioned, you'll work with the ISO to get your immigration documents ready to be submitted in early October. you've already started that process with collecting your financial information, which you'll then upload to our system to help you issue your documents. A few key components to be aware of is that you can arrive up to 30 days prior to the start of the program, January 6th. So you can arrive in early December at the earliest. And you can also, at the completion of the program in May, although it's far to be thinking about, but you can stay up to 60 days after your visa or after the program ends if you have other activities you want to do around the US, like visit New York. I know a lot of students go on tour, as we call it, after the completion of the program to really see as much of the US as they can. So yeah, those are great opportunities upon the completion of the program. Housing is always a point that people want to start taking advantage of now and start thinking of where you'd want to live. MIT has many graduate student dorms available. Some of the monthly rent prices you can see here. One thing, as you can tell from these rates, is that Boston and Cambridge are some of the most expensive areas in the US. I think I just saw this morning that it has risen to the number 4th highest rental place in the US. So it is a very expensive market. MIT has these competitive rates available for students. And we always, I always like to have students be cognizant of the fact that a lot of our licenses begin in the spring term, so in February. Our program doesn't exactly fit the mold of MIT just yet. They're still sort of adapting. So during the month of January, when you arrive for our orientation and our Scale Connect conference, you may have to have a temporary sublicense, which MIT has available on campus. We've spoken to students over the years, and in most cases, students are able to move directly into their dorm in early January and really only have to stay in like a hotel or temporary housing for a few days upon arrival. But every situation is different. And hopefully, actually, in the next year, MIT will be opening up more graduate housing and changing their system a little to make it more accommodating. So later in the spring, I will be sure to connect to you with these deadlines so that you can start thinking about housing. There's also plenty of off-campus housing options available. MIT has Boston and Cambridge have a very large rental market. And MIT facilitates this by having their own dedicated off-campus housing website, which you can use as a resource to sort of see the area and look at available housing. I know they've been very useful to our students in the past. If you do live around Boston, feel free to contact me if you want to know like what your commute might be like. I'm always happy to help. A lot of our classes will take place between 8:30 and 5 p.m. during the normal business hours, as we would say. And our building and many of our classes are located on the east side of campus, right next to the Kendall Square subway stop. So it's very easy to commute here. I take the subway every day, and it only takes maybe 40 minutes. But depending on what experience you're looking for, you may want to be closer to campus, or if you have a family, you want them to take advantage of the area. So you can consider that as well. As I mentioned, MIT offers discounts on subway and train service as a student, so it's very commuter friendly. Health insurance is a big component in the US, a big topic in the US, as you may have seen in the media. So MIT is required to comply with Massachusetts state law that requires comprehensive health insurance. To facilitate this, MIT auto-enrolls students into our health plan at a rate of just under $2,000 per student. This covers you from February through the end of August. Since our program, as I mentioned, doesn't exactly fit the mold of the traditional programs here at MIT, we do have a supplemental January insurance, which is a few extra $100 that you will be eligible to enroll in. And I'll communicate all of these details to you in a follow-up. If you are bringing family, if you have a spouse or children, keep in mind these are some of the rates that you will be looking for just for that spring term health insurance. As you can see, it climbs pretty steadily. So we always like you to be aware of these costs ahead of time so you can plan in advance. Students will be required to complete a medical report form to make sure that you're covered on your vaccinations. That's required, again, by Massachusetts law and by MIT. So we'll send that out, and it'll be due late in January. Tuition and finances. I know that's also another component. MIT offers, I would say, these 3 different methods for you to pay. Your bills will come out in the beginning of December with payment due in early January. You can send your payments via a wire transfer through your student account. I know I've gotten many questions about sponsored billing. So if you have a company or some sort of external funding agency who is providing you with funding, you can fill out a sponsored billing agreement and have them pay MIT directly. Or if you want to take advantage of a monthly payment plan, that's also available, where you can split your payments into 4 or 5 smaller chunks throughout the spring term. In addition, your admission deposit that you sent will be posted in December, along with any other SCM provided financial aid. And then just a breakdown of the attendance costs that you can expect is listed here. The only 2 things that you'll be charged, or the only 3 things that you'll be charged for from MIT's perspective, are your tuition, your student activity fee, and your health insurance. Everything else is just an estimate for you to plan around. Obviously, you can live less, you can live a little more, depending on if you have family, where you live, and sort of your standards of living. So that is definitely useful for you to keep in mind. Yeah, so now I'll hand it back to Maria to cover some of our curriculum.
Yeah, let's see now what are gonna be your journey along all this process. Actually, let me project everything. So here you will start. You already started with the MicroMaster certificate, right? With your 5 online classes and the final CFX exam. So here we are. We are in the fall term, right? In the what we call the fall pre-work. Actually, don't expect just to start working when you will join us in January. We are expecting you to work quite hard during the fall term. I mean, from August till December. What is the kind of pre-work that you need to do? You need to complete the edX Python course here in the fall term in August or through December. This is important just to be prepared for all the work that we are gonna run here during the January term, right? So then be prepared. I guess that Robert already sent you all this information, so you know the different options you have just to complete the Python course. Also, we are expecting you to begin the research project remotely, of course, working with your partner, working maybe alone, working with your sponsor company, but it's important that you fulfill all the different milestones, all the different assignments. We will come back to this point in a minute. Then you will, as I mentioned, work with your company, with your teammate, and also with the advisor or advisors. Typically, we allocate 1 researcher or 2 researchers to each research project in order to provide all the advice from the technical, from the academic point of view. Also, we will have some different webinar series in order just for you to know about, as Robert mentioned, about the housing, the international requirements for your visa, and also the writing class. So then you will get different sessions, online sessions about the writing class, and all these sessions will be aligned with the different milestones that you need to fulfill in your research project. So again, the research project and the writing class will be aligned during this fall pre-work. And also you need to review all the analytical materials, all what you did in previous SC courses, especially SC0 course. Why? Because in the January term, actually is going to be the first task you are going to have, right, is your analytical exam. So then be prepared during the fall term, review all the materials, study. Why? Because we want you to be fully ready for a start capturing all the knowledge, all the different insights that are going to come through all the different courses here at MIT. So then we will jump now to the what we call IAP, the January. IAP is coming from
the independent activities period.
Yes. Thank you, Robert. So then in January you will come here. The actually is the January the 6th is the first day, as far as I remember, is Monday.
Correct.
Right? So then we will have that particular week, what we call the orientation week, right? So then you will have the project review seminars where you will sit together with your mates from the blended program, but also with your mates from the residential program. So we will review which was your progress, your progress through your research project. Because, I mean, this is important. Actually, I mean, we are really expecting you to work during the fall term in order to be ready to start the very busy period in January. Very busy in terms of courses, in terms of interaction with the scale network. So, I mean, all the different students coming from all the different scale centers will be here during January, the month of January. As I mentioned, you will have some different courses on communication. You will get your analytical exam. And then after this orientation week, you will have what we call the Scale Connect, the 3-week period when you will interact with all your scale mates coming from all over the world. We will have a very busy and very exciting agenda full of workshops, full of different activities, very practical oriented, a lot of very high level speakers, VPs, coming from very well-known companies, retailer, manufacturing, pharma, electronics, from many different angles, many different industries. And then at the end of January, we have what we call the Research Expo. It means that all the students coming from the scale centers will present their research projects in front of a very rich audience of industry professionals, your mates from the scale centers, different researchers coming from all over the world. So this is an important milestone at the end of your IAP period in January, right? So then we will start the spring term. This will take from February to May. It's a very busy period. During this term, you will take all the classes, both from core courses and from elective courses. We will, review now the different core courses and elective options. You will also have 1 week that you will travel all around North America. Then in order to visit different companies, in order to have different recruiting opportunities in all these companies. Actually, we will come back to this point in a minute. Also, you will receive all the career coaching from Blend that we explained, and also you will work very intensively again along your research project. Actually, you will graduate here. You have the picture from this year. Then you will graduate end of May. It's a very special day, full of excitement. Your family typically comes here to share all this experience with you. And then you will have the post-program. What we call the post-program means that you will come back to your previous work, or maybe to a new job, or maybe you will have a break in order to have some time for relax, and then to understanding all the different knowledge that you have been acquiring along all this period of time. So it's a very busy period, very excited. Actually, all our students, all our graduates, value all this period as a experience that has changed their lives and their way of thinking. So then we are going to take care of you very carefully along all this period of time.
Yeah.
Any addition here, Robert?
No, I think this has a good overview of what to expect in the coming months. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so in terms of the curriculum requirements, so on the left-hand side, you have the degree requirements. So the work that you have already done in MicroMaster is the equivalent of 42 units, as you probably already know. Then we have the core courses, the core subjects is equivalent to 27 units. And then we have electives coming from the analysis track, from supply chain management track, So these are the different units, 3 to 6 from analysis and 6 units, sorry, from supply chain management elective. So typically we combine this very interesting portfolio of electives. So you will have a lot of options for deciding what is going to be the path you are going to follow when you will be here at MIT. Then you have your capstone project that is equivalent to 9 units, or thesis project 12 units. We will come back to this difference between capstone and thesis in a minute. So totally you will have an equivalent of 90 units required for your master's degree, MIT master degree. So these are the different courses along the different terms. Fall term, what we call the pre-work classes. Remember the Python class, and also the writing communication in supply chain management class, when you will get all the online courses on online different milestones that will go together with your research project. January term, what we call the core classes, right? Leading global teams. We will finish the writing communication course that we already started in fall term. Data analysis in Python. So we are going to prepare you very heavily in terms of all these quantitative analysis, because then again, different partner companies are demanding this kind of knowledge, this kind of talent. So we are going to help you to develop all this kind of knowledge. Then we will have different courses like SCM workshop and the supply chain leadership in January. Very, active period. Then we will jump into the spring term. So then you will combine the core courses with the elective courses and with the research projects. So this is a list of the core courses. Again, we emphasize a lot on the advanced writing. You will go deep into the financial analysis in supply chain, data science and machine learning, supply chain public speaking, and the 1 week study track that we will explain now in a minute.
Yeah.
Right? It's a very, comprehensive curriculum on different topics, ranging from very analytics and data oriented to more kind of leadership, kind of communication profile.
And I know this will seem very overwhelming to see all these different classes, so don't be alarmed. In December, we will have a webinar solely devoted to selecting your classes and pre-registration, so that you can plan out your classes for the spring term. So this is just like a taste so that you can see what to expect. Yeah.
But it's true to emphasize, it's true that you should not be overwhelmed. But it's true that, our best advice for you will be just to be prepared for starting January here full of energy. So, as much as you can advance the work during the fall term, in terms of all your paperwork, in terms of all your research projects, this is really, really important. Why? Because as you can see here, starting in January, you are gonna start with all the different courses, different interaction with different groups and homework. So it's important that you advance as much as you can all your research projects. So please pay attention to that. It's really, really a key. So this is an example of the first week in January, what we call the orientation week. Of course, this is to be determined. Actually, this is one example from last year. Typically, you will start here in January. January the 6th instead of 7th. So this is from last year. So then you will have a full range of different activities, starting from career services and career assessment to different orientation sessions about MIT, about what are the different, for example, MIT tour with different visits to the main buildings at MIT. Also, an important portion of your time will be for your research project. Remember, you will present in front of your blended mates and in front of your residential mates about what has been your progress in your research project. So this will be a good opportunity just to literally be blended with your mates in the SCM program. Actually, the idea is just we will split all the different research projects into different topics. For example, transportation and freight versus the forecasting group. And then you will present your progress in order to also to find some synergies with other research teams here, right? So be prepared for that. Of course, we will provide all these details. Don't be overwhelmed. This is now, in a nutshell, an overview about what you are expected to do. If we are expecting something from your side, we will let you know. We had quite intensive on communication, right? So in terms of your study track,
yeah, so we just wanted to highlight one of the most exciting parts of the spring term, which will be the SCM study track. This week-long experience takes place just before spring break, so March 15th through the 21st. In the last year, or this current year, we went to Seattle, Los Angeles, Portland, Oregon, San Francisco, and Panama. So our group of 80 plus students split into 3 different groups to go to these various locations. And we had a really incredible experience visiting companies in these areas, including partner companies and companies that our alumni have gone to. So we went to Amazon, Nike, Apple, Massive Shipping.
Yeah. The port in LA.
Yeah, the port
right?
of Long Beach in LA.
Yes.
And then in Panama, we've seen a lot of the operations that are done.
Panama Canal.
The Panama Canal,
and
shipping,
all the different companies, yeah.
So it really is an incredible experience that's unique to the program here. This year, we're still shaping our partners that will visit in 2020, but very likely we'll again be able to visit some of these key areas, Panama, the Bay Area, and Seattle. So we're really looking forward to that. We will also communicate late in August to start thinking about which trek you'd want to join on. Because there's a lot of logistics just to get all of us out there. So we'll have to start signing up a little bit early so that we can plan hotels and flights and everything a little earlier on in the fall term before everybody gets here. But yeah.
Yeah, so the main goal of these treks are actually 2 goals, right? One is just you to be able to integrate the different knowledge that you have acquired through your master program, then to integrate different concepts that have been applied along all these different companies, from very intensive in terms of manufacturing to more kind of logistics service to retail companies. So then you will be able to integrate and then to see these concepts in motion. This is the first goal. The second goal is just to also to make some connections with those companies in terms of future recruitment. Actually, we have a very broad network of alumni working on those companies. So then typically you connect with them, you meet physically with them in order to expand your network along the MIT alumni network, which is quite rich, not only in for this particular week, but for all your future professional life.
Yeah. And then one component, as we mentioned, during the spring term is your longest time here at MIT, taking place from February through May. We wanted to just give you a quick example of all of the classes that we offer in the spring term. There's obviously so many classes that you won't be able to take them all, but it really just shows the breadth of topics that we are able to provide. This is just an example from this past year. But you can see in orange are all of the supply chain management electives that we offer. There's many analysis electives, and one of the great vantage points of our program is that you can take classes from all of MIT. So we have students who take classes at Sloan. We have classes in electrical engineering and computer science, data science. So you can really focus on the topics that are of interest to you to fill our degree requirements. Yeah. So now we'll pass it back to Maria to talk about the research project.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. As we already mentioned, this is an important element of your learning. Again, we are very intensive in terms of experiential learning, and this is another loop where, you will integrate all your different insights extracted from your MicroMaster experience, but also through our blended experience, right? So then we are going to highlight different elements, important elements. Again, the first element from, my point of view is that be prepared to work intensively during the fall term. This is the best advice, and I will insist this again and again. And this is why we have incorporated different milestones, right, along this journey. So in terms of sponsoring companies, this is a list of the companies that that we worked with last year actually. Then the students finished 1 month ago. So then we were working with ABB, Kings Hawaiian, Los Hidalgos, it's a pharmaceutical company, Lian Fan Group, so the postal service operator in the Netherlands, so Danco, just to give you some examples, right? So here is a list of some capstone projects or research projects, and in blue I have highlighted the 2 projects that were awarded last year. So we are very happy and very proud that the 2 projects were coming from the blended cohort, right? So then we are very proud, and we are doing a great job in our program. So please, keep this energy up in order to finish with this kind of final outcomes. We are very proud of all of you. So I'm gonna explain now one particular example. This is one of the projects that was awarded this last May. Actually, the title is Comparative Evaluation of Drone Delivery Systems in Last Mile Delivery. So what is the main purpose? The main purpose is just for last mile delivery, just to combine this delivery by truck and by drones. So the students, they prepared a comparison of 4 different models where they were ranging from pure drone delivery system to a shared track drone combination. So they built different models, actually a cloud-based solution using the mimetic algorithm and an extension of genetic algorithm just to optimize delivery routes. They provided different kind of objective function. Also, they developed a Python code and program in order to interact with the different parameters of the models in order to be able to quantify what is the effect of their conclusion, of their recommendations, right? So they were able to reduce the minimum tour time as high as 80%, providing a coverage of 100% in terms of the delivery to all the different customers. So then this is a good example about the kind of very innovative concepts that we are managing in the research projects, and also the kind of quantitative analysis and methodology that we are doing. So in terms of the research project, actually this is a key element in our program because it also allows a differentiation between the 2 degree options available. The first and most important and most recommendable option is the Master of Applied Science, MIS, in Supply Chain Management. This requires a capstone project, and then all our program, blended program, prepares you and provides different knowledge in order to follow this path, right? When you apply a particular concept into a particular setting or company, right? Versus another option that is also available, that is a Master of Engineering in Supply Chain Management. The main difference between these 2 degree options are the project, the research project. In the first one, in Master of Applied Science, then you will get a capstone project. So it's a research project that is more applied to a particular context versus a master thesis. The expectation of a master thesis is to move the boundaries of science, to find a new concept, a new methodology. So the research and innovative concept here are higher in compared with the capstone project. We will now we have a slide explaining all this. So of course, our recommendation is going for the first option, to the Master of Applied Science. So the program is designed for this kind of degree. And in the particular case that you want to further develop more research skills, that you already got this kind of research skills, so that you are prepared for this kind of more research-oriented project, then you can follow the Master of Engineering. In this particular case, that you want to follow Master of Engineering, please get in contact with us, send us an email, and then we will discuss your particular option. So this is the main and the main elements of research projects. So we integrate all these three different elements. So innovation means that we will innovate in terms of a new problem, a new method, a new concept, right? Of course, this new method or new problem, we will apply that into a particular context, into the context, for example, of a company, of a particular industry, let's say retail industry. So, of course, this will require real data, and then we emphasize a lot on the availability of data, right? So then actually in the work that we are going to do in the next couple of months, then we will emphasize a lot on the availability of data. In terms of methodology, we are expecting you to apply methodology that typically is quantitative in nature. So then that you will get all this data that you acquire from a particular company in order to understand the implications of this innovative concept in order to be able to apply the quantitative methodology. Also, you can apply different modeling when you will optimize a particular objective function. Also, some experimental kind of methodology when then you will run different experiments in a real setting. And also, you can also, then run a survey in order to collect empirical data from a particular industry. And also case studies. But we are inclined more to the quantitative methods when you will be able to apply the different methodologies like machine learning, all this analytics content that you are going to get from your courses into the particular context of your research project. So the capstone is just integrating all these three different elements. This is why we prefer you to follow a capstone. We are preparing you more to the capstone project versus the thesis in the framework of Master of Engineering, where we are expecting to innovate a particular concept and apply a methodology. So then we are expecting this particular thesis to contribute more to the academic setting, just to move the boundaries of science, as I have mentioned before. If you decide, imagine that you decide to run for a Master of Engineering, and then you propose a thesis proposal, and then we think that the proposal makes sense. We check all the requirements from your previous background, that you are prepared because you already got a Master of Science, or maybe because you already run research projects in your previous professional life. Then in that particular case, we will put in different milestones in order to make sure that you are going to contribute to science, right? So then again, the thesis is a different kind of outcome. It's not because the thesis implies higher requirements. Absolutely not, right? Capstone and thesis both require a very clear set of expectations and outcomes. But in the case of capstone, your main contribution will be for industry. In the case of thesis, your main contribution typically is for science, right? So then this is why we prefer the capstone versus a thesis. So following in that this kind of concept, the capstone means the understanding of a particular phenomenon that is observed in practice. It's very close related with practice, versus the thesis is that the thesis will develop new concepts for a system problem. So this new element is really important in the framework of a thesis. So the new contributions to the science part. In terms of the difference between the Master of Appliance Science, here are the different milestones. So let me show the first three. So the idea is that we will work, actually Tuba and myself, we are working right now in pre-selecting your research proposals. So the research proposals that you have submitted with your application package, then we are working, over them in order to prepare a pre-selected list of research projects. Then for all these pre-selected projects, then you will provide in the next weeks one-page proposal. We will provide all the details of this, no worries. Then we will work with all these one-page proposal, and then actually in end of August, then we will show you all the list of different capstone projects, and then you will be able to select to work on some of them. Of course, if your research proposal has been pre-selected, you are expected to work on that particular research proposal, but if it's not the case, then you are expected to bid and to participate on other research projects. These research projects, these research proposals could come from your mates with this pre-selected list, but also they could come from researchers. Also, we would present at the end of August this list of research projects coming from MIT CTL researchers. And then you will allocate to one particular project, and then you will start with your pre-work assignments in the fall term. Compare with the Master of Engineering. So in this case, you will need to prove that you are prepared for doing research, for conducting research in the particular setting of this Master of Engineering thesis. For example, you are expected to demonstrate that you have already published in peer-reviewed journals with prior maybe science degrees. And also we are expecting you to take additional course content in terms of advanced mature learning course in spring, right? This is the code here, 6.883 is the course, the code of the course in advanced mature learning. Only for the Master of Engineering, only for those that are gonna submit a thesis. We will review your research proposal in order to see if it fits into this particular setting of moving the boundary of science. And then you will prepare, in case that this will be accepted, you will need to extend the scope and academic contribution. So you will prepare a document with the proposal, thesis proposal, a document with 6 pages. Then you will need to find an MIT CTL advisor, a researcher that is well prepared and aligned with your particular topic of research, right? Those researchers that have already published, that are, knowledgeable in the particular area. You can find all these researchers and their expertise in our website, in MIT CTL website. Then the thesis proposal would be reviewed by a thesis review committee. Why? Because we want to make sure that, this proposal fits into the expectations of a thesis, right? And then you will complete the pre-work assignments in fall term. And then you will have a probatory approval from September to January. Then you will work on these pre-assignments, and then you will have to present in front of your mates in January in the what we call in the orientation week, what we call in the project review, the first week of January, as we mentioned. And then in February, we will have a first review with the thesis committee. In March, another review. In these particular cases, for this, project review, thesis review, right? Then the committee can make the decision to switch your particular project from thesis to capstone, because maybe the contribution is not in the science side, right? So then it could be capstone in order to make sure that you contribute into the industry setting, right? So this is important just to highlight that the program prepares you for doing an applied research work, applying to industry, to have an impact in industry, right? But in case that you would like to follow the thesis, just let us know. Yeah, I think this is clear in terms of capstone versus thesis, let's jump now into the different key dates for the research project.
Yeah, so we provided this slide just to summarize some of these, the key timelines, so that you can keep track over the next coming months. So the project selection process will go on from now through the end of September. So in the next couple days, we will be sending out pre-selected decisions. So if your admissions proposal, research proposal, is going to advance to the next stage, you'll receive an email from either Tuba, myself, and Maria with some additional instructions for you to develop that over the next month. The one-page project summary will be due at the beginning of August. We'll provide a template for that. And along this way, if you want to propose a thesis using your project, you'll have to develop that 6-page proposal and also submit your thesis proposal to us for review. In late August, we will have an additional capstone webinar, and all of the proposals that will be available will be sent out to all of your classmates and to yourself to review, so that you can prepare for bidding and see which projects you'd be most interested in pursuing. Thesis proposal decisions will be sent out in early September for those students who receive pre-approval. They wouldn't participate in bidding, so their project would be taken out, and then they will pursue on their own through the fall term until those critical meetings in IEP and spring. Then we plan to do capstone bidding in mid-September, and the project assignments will come out towards the end of September, and you will be able to start with your pre-work assignments. So then that moves us into the pre-work assignment process. We've narrowed it down to 5 key assignments through September all the way until December. So we'll have as I mentioned, we'll have a pre-work webinar in late September where Maria will go over these concepts, and we will also invite the writing instructor, Pamela. She will have plenty of materials for you to start crafting your project, including templates, literature for you to read, and basically the structure of your proposal. So we have these key deadlines where we'll go over where you're expected to provide the action plan, statement of motivation, the relevance of your research, really define that problem that you want to address. You'll do a literature review in November. If you are lucky enough to have those preliminary results, you'll have those in early December. And then this will culminate in producing a poster, which you will then present in late January. We really want you to be prepared for the Research Expo poster presentation. So that's why we have an early deadline to submit your first draft of the poster, which you would then refine with your advisor here at MIT once you get here.
Yeah, 2 quick comments, important comments here. First, I mean, if your research proposal has been pre-selected, we are expecting you to be in contact with your sponsor company or companies, because they are expected to provide the key data. They are expected to provide the framework where this particular project is going to be executed. The company is expected to provide also to provide some time available just for meetings. Typically, the meetings could take every week or every 2 weeks, so they are expected to allocate time for this particular interaction. So just let me highlight that it's not only you that are going to be the sponsor of the project. If you propose this particular idea, that is your company is going to sponsor this particular idea. It's going to facilitate the environment in order to execute successfully this particular research project. So please, if you don't have not contacted with these companies, you should do that in case that your research proposal is going to be pre-selected. You will know this week. And the second important point I have already mentioned, but I want to highlight again and again, because the last experience with our past students, these past experience have demonstrated that as much as you work during the pre-work period, I mean the fall term, in your research project, the better success you will obtain at the end of your blended experience in terms of the success of the research project. Is more mature. You are getting data earlier, so you can start exploring with the data. You can start working with your advisor and with your company. So please be prepared to work intensively during the fall term. This is important. Don't expect till January. In January, you are going to be quite busy. And of course, in the spring term, you are going to continue working on your research project. But if you don't work in the fall term, then will not be enough for these 4 or 5 months during the spring term. So be prepared.
And we actually have one question just following up on the capstone project.
Yes.
So one student asked, will they do the capstone projects in pairs or alone? And this is actually a topic that we've been discussing recently.
Yes, yes. We want you to have the best experience through your research project, right? Through your custom project. And then this is why we prefer you to work in pairs. But in case that you want to work alone, right? Because I don't know, because then maybe your project has been facilitated by the company you are working in. And then you know that it's going to be difficult to integrate a second person, right? So this will not be fair for the second person, right? This is why in that particular cases, we will prefer you to work alone, right? But then what is the main advice? I mean, just to facilitate the relationship with the company in order to work in pairs. This will be the ideal setting, right? But we don't want just to be one student who is promoting the idea, the project, the company, and then the other second student get isolated. This is not good for the project. This is not good for the team, and this is not good for the person who is promoting the idea in front of their mates. This is why we prefer in pairs, but facilitating the connection with the company.
Yeah. So when we send out our upcoming survey, we'll give you the option to define where you lie, if you want to do it with a partner or if you're more leaning towards doing an individual project. So we'll take that into account before we assign projects.
Yeah, and this is an important question. Is in the past it happened that some meetings were not in English because maybe the person who is in the company side cannot speak English, right? So this is not good at the end for the project itself, and it's not a good experience from the experiential learning point of view. I mean, from the two students who are engaged in the project, right? So then we should avoid that, and then just to provide the best experience and the most successful experience for solving this particular problem for the company. And actually, some companies are willing to receive these outcomes, these results, in order to apply them into their setting. So let's facilitate as much as we can these successful outcomes.
Okay. And as we mentioned, that last assignment will lead to a poster that you would present at the Scale Connect Research Expo conference at the end of January. So this is really a great experience for you to meet people from all over the industry. You'll also meet your peers from all of our 6 scale centers. It's really a very dynamic event. We have over 400 people, I think, attend each year. And it's really a showcase of all of the work that you've done through that fall term. So that's why all of these pre-work assignments must be completed by the end of December, so that we really make sure you're on track to present at our Research Expo.
So again, the same message. If you progress along your research project, then you will be able to show preliminary results in front of industry, in front of your mates, in front of the even professional associations. So if you don't progress during the fall term, then what you are going to present will be, more immature. So which is not be good for you. So let's work as much as you can during the fall term.
So I think we are getting towards the end, and I see a few questions that we'll answer on the last slide. So upcoming action items. Some things to keep in mind. Remember, please create your MIT email account. That's critical for us to communicate with you. In the next week, we will email all of our decisions for the proposal assignments. We also ask that you let us know if you're interested in proposing a thesis. So that we can keep track of that, so we know that you are advancing towards that more comprehensive 6-page document. I'll be sending out a survey that will collect basically a little bio that you can put together to share so that we can share with your classmates. the survey also includes just a few brief questions about your career outlooks, and then a few more follow-up questions about the capstone and thesis project, whether you want to work in pairs and what commitment you believe your company would be able to put forward with that project. And then through the rest of July, you would work on those capstone summary, the one-page document. So in response to one of the questions that came up, we will provide templates for your project. We'll provide a very detailed guidebook that will cover all of the aspects that your company would be required to facilitate, data collection, meeting with you. So we'll have, it's pretty comprehensive. You can share it with your company so that they know the expectations that they will be held to. And then in late August, we will have a capstone bidding webinar where we will go over all of the projects and sort of our process to assign projects, capstone teams, or individually, and just the full breadth of all the projects that will be available. There's the possibility, well, we will definitely have projects proposed by students. We may also have projects proposed by our CTL researchers here at MIT, and then the potential for projects from our corporate partners who propose projects to our students as well. And then carrying us through to the beginning of September, we'll have that first pre-work assignment after the capstone projects are assigned, where we'll go over all of the topics, and we'll meet with Pamela for the first time. So I'm going to put it back on the video, and it looks like we have a few questions here that I will be happy
Please
to
don't
answer.
feel too overwhelmed. We know that there is a lot of information now in this webinar. We are aware, so you can come back again to watching the video, to review the presentation in order to see the different milestones. We are quite structured, right? So that it means that we will provide the guidelines, so then you will not get lost at all, right? So then don't get too stressed that we have been running this program several times with more than a couple of decades of history. So then we are prepared for providing the right information in the right time. But of course, you need to be prepared for working on that, right? So then we will guide you, but then you need to follow.
Yep. So just a few questions that came up here. So if you have a company sponsor, but you're concerned about the access to data, what would be your advice? Should we go with a different project, or should we work with the company?
Yeah, so then actually when we have been reviewing intensively your research proposals, so then I mean, some of them, they I mean, explicitly mentioned that potentially you will get access to the data. So then we are aware about the accessibility of the data, right? So that in the case that your project will be pre-selected, it's very important that you start working with your company in order to make sure that the data is going to be available.
Yeah.
Because imagine that then you say, yes, it's going to be available, but finally it's not. I mean, imagine at the middle of the fall term without the data, having a couple of advisors from MIT, then another mate from the blended program that is working with you and the team, and then you cannot get the data, right? So this is something that we don't want to happen, right? Because then you will not be able to apply the different research questions from the project, so you will not be able to run your project. This is something that we don't want to happen, and you don't want to happen, right? So then as soon as we will know that the data will not be accessible, the better for all of us.
Yeah. And to that end, if you don't believe the data will be available, you don't think that the partnership will be to the best of your abilities with the company, you can obviously pull your project out. We completely understand, and that's what the whole point of this July and August period is for you to really make sure that it's a viable project. And if it's not, there's no issue pulling your project from the pool, because we'll have plenty of projects available to bid on if your project doesn't make it forward. Just a few other questions that came up. When is the enrollment period for the Python course? So the summer enrollment has already begun. It began in June, and the course goes through August. And then the fall term course begins at the very end of August and goes through October. So if you haven't enrolled in the summer course just yet, don't worry, we'll send out a reminder to enroll in the fall term course, which will start, I believe, August 25th. We'll share details with the visa related questions. I know there's always questions about visa related and immigration related questions. So just please be patient. MIT is still at this moment helping all of the students who are coming in August. So a lot of times they can't facilitate all of the questions that will be coming in for you as you come in January. But we are well aware of that we will be helping you towards the end of the summer. So don't worry about that. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to email Maria, myself, or Tuba. We'll be happy to answer. I see one more question I'll be happy to take. Does the Python course contribute towards your GPA here at MIT? It does not. It is really just an introductory to make sure you have those skills in Python so that you can do well in our courses here. As we mentioned, 3 of our upcoming classes have Python integrated into them. So in January, you'll be taking applied Python or applied data science, which includes Python. And then in spring, you'll be doing machine learning. There's 2 different tracks, so both of those require a level of understanding. But with that in mind, the edX course is just to make sure everybody has a basic understanding.
And this course allows you just to follow your own path. So then if you have not been working with Python, then maybe you can review again and again the different content in order to make sure that you will be prepared when you will join us here in campus. But if you have already worked with Python, I am sure that will be easier for you.
Yep. So I think we will start wrapping it up now. Thanks again for joining us. We're very happy to have this first meeting together. We'll be sending out several emails over the next coming weeks. Have opportunities for you to introduce yourself to your classmates, to the SCM staff through our profile, and to your residential colleagues who will be starting in August. So it really is a great start to the program.
Yeah, we are really looking forward to meeting all of you. But please, be prepared to work within the fall term. I insist again and again. I know, but it's just for your best, right? So, and please feel free also to ask whatever kind of question. We usually will provide all the information. So read it carefully. And then in case that you will have some kind of question, come back to us. We are here just for, providing the best experience as you can together with here at MIT. So looking forward to meeting you.
I think that's all. Bye, everybody.
Bye.